A year ago to the month, I began writing a blog called iPads in Primary Education. Its aim was to share the school's iPad journey from justifying an initial investment to how this technology was used to enhance the curriculum with examples of projects in Year 6. Over the year, the blog has grown and developed with now over 30 blog posts which have investigated innovative and creative uses of apps in the curriculum and looked at how the devices can be used to promote independent learning. Ideas which have been posted on the blog have had attention from educators from every continent and have been replicated in classrooms around the globe. My first post title was iPads versus laptops. If the school was going to invest a substantial amount of money on handheld technology, I needed to know how these devices were going to enhance the teaching and learning in the classroom compared to the kit the school already had, which was laptop computers and PCs. This is why iPads. The school made an investment in iOS devices. We had 16 iPads in Key Stage 1, we had 16 in Key Stage 2, and we had one-to-one iPods in Year 6, and each teacher was given an iPad to become familiar with them at the beginning of the year. And crucial to all of this was a managed wireless system which allowed the children to blog any content that they created on their iPad or iPod to a blog space, so it could be accessed by a global audience and receive feedback as well. The focus was on using technology to support learning, develop children's productivity, and how using the devices could impact on pupil progress across the curriculum. It's important to mention that the technology does not replace the teaching and that the devices haven't been used for everything, but they have been used as a tool to enhance learning for any given task where appropriate. As educators, we have to select the best tools for the job. The best tool for the job could have been pencil and paper, scissors and glue, laptop and printers, a good book, and silence. The devices are just another tool, but if used effectively and creatively, can enhance the curriculum. This was one of the first projects we did which incorporated the use of iPads. The case study of this project was written up on the blog. The project is based on a Year 6 unit in design and technology. The task was to build a controllable vehicle with a forward and reverse switch. Traditionally, I would have taught this challenging unit in a series of lessons. So as an example, in lesson 1, I would have demonstrated to the children how to build the chassis for the car. Then lesson 2, we'd have a look at how we attach the wheels and the axles and so on till we eventually managed to build a controllable car, adding a net on at the end as well. In my opinion, this teaching method had so many flaws though. Firstly, I would have to keep stopping the lesson to keep repeating instructions, showing the children again what I'd already shown them, but the listening skills perhaps weren't quite as robust at this stage. The more able in the class were left frustrated as well, because they'd finish early and then I would expect them then to go and help others because I couldn't move on to the next lesson without keeping the continuity amongst the class. I couldn't start the next lesson until the children had completed the previous lesson as well, so I couldn't start to show them how to add the axles and the wheels unless they'd completed finishing the chassis. So there was a lot of flaws to my teaching method. It's a subject I love teaching, but the lessons were exhausting. I felt I was doing all the work, always having to repeat instructions and provide continuous support when it should have been the children exhausted at the end of the day because they'd done all the work. They had no independence and they had to rely on being spoon-fed all the instructions. So they had no experience of building a controllable car before as well, and why should they have? So the question was, how could the project be shifted from teacher-led learning, me doing the direct teaching, giving the instruction after instruction, to child-centred learning, the children teaching themselves and able to work at their own pace. After much trial and error with ideas, this was our solution. I'm just going to come out of the presentation just to show this. So we came up with this idea of creating an iBook with a built-in video which showed the children how to make a controllable vehicle. So step 1, the traditional method of doing the chassis, I would have been stood at the front showing them how to do it. But with this method, the children could work at their own pace. So they had access to this video, which was me showing them how to build a chassis, so they could pause, rewind as much as they needed to without me having to stop the lesson. They had a list of instructions for each page, what they would need for each of the design process. So just pause that, and they could go through putting the axle and the axle holders on to the next bit, preparing the wires. So the children could work at their own pace. So the iBook allowed the children to pause and rewind as many times as they needed to as they progressed through the project. This idea may already exist in other areas of the public sector, but is the potential for instructional videos with supporting text using iBook format in other areas of the public sector. A training manual perhaps, or used as a quick guide just to help people access things. And it can be used obviously mobile, it can be used on the go. So I don't know if any of this technology already exists, but the idea's there. So this was the project. So I love this picture. You've got saws, glue, and then you've got the iPad. Complete recipe for disaster, really. But surprisingly, with 60 children in the hall, 10 to 11-year-olds, the iPads remained intact. So the iBook was set up onto each iPad. We managed to get 15 iPads, so the children had one iPad between 4, like you can see in the picture. So they had to work collaboratively with the iPad. The hall was set up with tables and chairs for 60 children. We had 2 full classes from Year 6 in the hall. The materials and equipment the children would need to build their car were set up at the front, and after a brief instruction and safety advice, off they went. The children were much more independent and, most importantly, able to work at their own pace, knowing that if they'd finished a chapter of the book, they simply moved on to the next. We spent almost 2 full days in the hall, and as teachers, we'd become guides on the side. It was amazing to step back and watch the learning taking place. So this is a picture of some of the finished cars. So the use of the iPad in this way was a huge success. It was an outstanding learning experience for the children with such a challenging topic. From this point, we wanted to continue to use the iPad in a creative and innovative way and incorporate as many other subjects into the topic as we could. The children for this task had to plan, film, add a jingle and edit an advert for their car. As a stimulus, the children watched a series of car advertisements, made notes and then began to plan their car advert in storyboard format. The children were given a demonstration on how to use iMovie and how to create a jingle in GarageBand on the iPads and to keep their advert under 30 seconds. This was an example of one of the children's work.
The new Peach Fiesta. Engine power and speed max of 240. Inside a built-in home. The new Peach Fiesta.
To complement their car advert, the children created their own persuasive car brochure. The children used the Creative Book Builder app, took photos, designed a front cover, and added images of their car to the brochure. This was a particular section of a brochure I enjoyed, so I'm just going to read you the example on the screen. We tested this beast car on the Top Gear track using Top Gear's very own Stig. The car absolutely teared the track to pieces with an astonishing, startling acceleration from 0 to 60 in an awesome 1.8 seconds. The car finished its lap in a record-breaking 58 seconds. We're also thinking of taking our car to Le Monza and the Monaco track after the F1 Grand Prix. So imagination sky high. The lightweight carbon fibre body work combined with a low-shaped body helped the car to go to 260 miles per hour. So very ambitious, but there's punctuation and grammar errors, but the language and imagination is, I hope you agree, of a really high standard. We also incorporated maths into the project. The children had to calculate the cost of the equipment and if they borrowed it as well for so many hours, so they had to hire the equipment in effect as it was as well. So if they used a saw for 2 hours, they had to work out how much it would cost to hire. So for this, we used the app Numbers. I created a spreadsheet for the children to fill in, and there's an example up there. And they had to work out the costs of the parts and the hire of the equipment, and then come up with a total at the end. In hindsight, I would have liked them to have designed their own spreadsheet with formulas to work out the cost, but at this point in the school year, the children hadn't had experience of working with spreadsheets. So extremely important to this project was the audience. Pupils' interest and effort was higher than myself and my colleague had seen before. The children produced high-quality car designs, there was an increase in writing levels, and the video adverts were outstanding. On the Wednesday, we decided we had to run a car show so the children could share their work to a larger audience. The children handwrote letters to their parents to invite them to the event. The parents had only been given 2 days' notice, but the attendance from the parents, bearing in mind there was 2 days, it was Friday afternoon, was amazing. You can see that one in the picture on the right. So pupils wanted their parents to attend because they cared and valued their work. The children prepared a script and shared their car advert and brochure. Their depth of knowledge, understanding and confidence was unexpectedly high. As well as developing the children's skills on the devices, using creative apps which allow the children to create their own content to demonstrate their learning, myself and my colleague developed an approach to support independent learning in maths. Each week, the children complete a weekly assessment based on 10 key areas of the maths curriculum, which are up here. This identifies specific steps a child needs to secure before achieving a level before they're ready to move on to the next. It's clear to the teachers and to the pupils which step they need to complete in order to make progress. So this was a big maths idea, and we added our own interpretation using technology onto it. So in this example, the child is working at level 4. So the child is tracking their progress on a target sheet in their exercise book, which is the picture on the left-hand side. And what they do is they colour the sheet in green if they've understood that learning objective, or they've got it right on the test, red if they've got it incorrect. So if you notice, the third one down, the child keeps getting number 3 wrong, and this is a division question. So number 3 down is all red, three weeks in a row. So after completing the mini-test, the child can identify the specific area of maths they need to practice. So what the child does, using their iPod, is to scan the QR code at the top of the sheet, and this takes them to a blog space where they can work independently. So for this, we needed a robust wireless system, obviously with 30 children possibly needing internet access all at once, so we needed a good, strong broadband speed. So this is the area it would take them to. So if the child has scanned that QR code, they get a list of all these 10 learning objectives at the top. So the particular one this child was struggling on was the third one, which was division. So they click up there and they would get this screen, which is on the right-hand side here. So the child can select from the 10 different areas at the top, but they keep getting the number 3 wrong. So they can, first of all, they can watch a video which explains how to solve a division problem. So I'll just show you this briefly.
Or chunking.
So this is me
looking at nines,
demonstrating them to them.
Into 298. So we know from our estimate that 30 times 9 equals 270. And if we put this in brackets, 30.
So I don't need to give you a lesson, but that's how it works. So the child would scan that QR code, have access to video material, and then they would have access to questions as well that they could practice independently in the lesson. So in effect, we could have 30 children in the lesson doing 30 different, although it would only be 10, but not everybody in the lesson would be doing the same thing. So this is big maths in action. So I'll just show you this video. They've just completed the test, and then they're tracking the progress. They scan the QR code at the top. Demonstration video. Put some headphones on. So this would take place every Friday. There's obviously still direct teaching done during the week as well, but every Friday the children would work independently on specific areas of maths they needed to practice. Independent learning across the curriculum was a long-term goal, but it became apparent by the end of the first term the children had become extremely proficient using the devices, choosing and combining apps to demonstrate their learning. As teachers, we decided to build on this and explore the potential for pupil-led independence in science. The children were given a series of learning objectives and had to plan how they were going to demonstrate their learning scientifically. So for the unit, how we see things, those were all the learning objectives for that particular unit of work. So for this particular task, the pupils that worked together chose to demonstrate their learning by creating an iMovie. With the movie, they designed a front page in a different app, annotated pictures, took videos of experiments, and recorded voiceovers. So here's a video from the unit, How We See Things in Science, which covers all of these learning objectives you see on the screen.
light travels from a far distance. When light is blocked, it causes a shadow. The light travels through the plastic wallet. The book stops the light getting through, so it causes a shadow. The further hand moves away, the bigger the shadow is. The torch is shone onto the mirror and the mirror reflects it onto the paper. The closer it is, the bigger the shadow. Bye, Olivia and Georgia.
So as I said earlier, it's not always about the technology, but I do hope in the examples that I've shown that the technology has enhanced the learning experience for the children in my class. I would like to finish on this thought. What skills do children learning in the 21st century need now and in the future? Here's what I think. Thank you.